Most people currently working in tech think that landing a high-paying job at Binance is out of reach. They think only geniuses or well-connected people can get their foot in the door, or that they don't have the technical skills required. And when I first looked into Binance, that's what I thought as well. But the closer I looked, the more my mind started changing. And then in 2021, I took a leap of faith and applied to dozens of jobs. To my surprise, I secured a few interviews and I ended up landing a job. At first, I thought it was luck, but after guiding many others like Corriday and Jordan to do the exact same thing, I realized that most tech engineers are actually closer to landing these jobs than they imagine. Now, this sounds too good to be true, but after I break down the 4 quick changes you can make in order to become an appealing candidate for these jobs, you'll be 10 steps closer to landing one for yourself. Let's jump straight into it. Change number 1, stop treating your CV like a timeline. Now let me ask you a question. What exactly are companies like Binance looking for? The answer is surprisingly simple. They want evidence that if they put you on a real product, you'll actually be able to contribute. Because think about it like this. Imagine you're hiring someone to renovate your house. One builder turns up with 10 certificates and tells you how many years he's been in the industry, and the other opens up his phone and shows you 10 houses he's actually built. Who are you trusting? Exactly. Companies like Binance think the exact same way. They hire developers because they've already proved they can, and that's what makes your CV impossible to ignore. The most ignorable CV in the world is the one that lists where you studied, where you've worked, what programming languages you know. It's boring. No one cares. And then they wonder why no one calls them back. Just imagine stepping into the shoes of the poor recruiter. You had 6 hours of sleep, drank 2 coffees just to keep your eyes open, and you're looking at a list of 73 applications. Are you going to read line by line? No. You'll glance at it for a few seconds and decide if it's worth reading properly. When you structure your CV like a timeline, nothing jumps out immediately. They think another basic, boring CV, and they move on to the next one. So you're probably wondering, how do I get my CV to stand out? Well, the first thing I do for every single one of my students is, instead of going in chronological order through all the tutorial projects, I start with the real recognized work. And if they don't have any, I help them build some. Let me show you what I mean. One of my students, Corriday, is a good example. When he applied to Binance, he was still a computer science student with no degree or previous experience. So when he first wanted to break into crypto, he did exactly what most people watching his video are probably doing. He completed 3 courses, he watched YouTube tutorials, and he gained technical skills, thinking that was going to be his golden ticket. But when it came time to apply for jobs, he realized he had nothing that actually separated him from everyone else. He knew the theory, sure, but so did everyone else. That's not actually what recruiters look for. They're after someone with real-world blockchain experience. So when he joined me, I didn't waste any time putting him through another course or feeding him more information. Instead, I put him on a real paid client project called PenguBot for Pudgy Penguins. My sole goal was to prepare him to land this job. Immediately, his CV stood out from other applicants. It went from looking like every other candidate to someone who has been part of a real blockchain project. And later, the recruiters actually told him that's the reason that they picked him. 70 other people applied, and only one of them had real blockchain development experience, and that was Corriday. Change number 2, stop treating job applications like a numbers game. This one is responsible for wasting hundreds of hours for developers every single year. If I had a megaphone, I'd scream this into every developer's ear until it's engraved in their brains. Stop treating job applications like a numbers game. Treating it like a lottery and hoping to win is a loser's game. I see developers sending out 50, 100, sometimes 200 applications, and when no one gives them a call back, they think, maybe I just need to apply to another 50, thinking it's good work ethic. It's not. It's just silly. If you're sending the same CV to every company, you're indirectly trying to fit into all these roles. Your CV is a jack of all trades and a master of none. And because of that, you're spreading yourself too thin and you're not landing any jobs. Think about action movies. You see a guy walking into a building with an M16, fully loaded to kill one guy. He sprays 300 bullets and finally kills the guy after a 20-minute gunfight. He barely walks out alive, limping, and now he has to recover for 30 business days before he's back on his feet. It's inefficient. Now imagine a sniper. He studies his target to know every detail about his life, know where he is, where he's going, and positions himself at the right place and waits. And then boom, one shot, one kill. That's how you need to approach job hunting. The very first step is to identify the handful of roles that genuinely fit your background and tailor your CV so it immediately answers one question. Why is this person a great fit for this role? That's exactly what we did with Jordan. We didn't blast his CV across hundreds of blockchain companies. We identified one blockchain security role that perfectly matched his background, repositioned his experience around exactly what that company was looking for, and tailored every part of his application to that one opportunity. Do you know what happened? He got the job. And today he works in blockchain security, monitoring and responding to exploits, including attacks linked to North Korean hacking groups. All we changed was his positioning. Instead of trying to convince every company that he could do every job, he became the obvious candidate for one specific role. All he had to do was follow the blueprint that I gave him. The truth is, most of you already have the technical skills required to land the job and the proof to back it up. All you're missing is the targeted research to focus on one specific job instead of begging anyone that will take you. And then you can even go one step above. The best of candidates aren't even scoping out their targets. They're the ones being scoped out by these big companies. Change number 3, make yourself discoverable. What if, instead of constantly aiming at companies started aiming at you? That's what the third change is all about. Instead of relying entirely on outbound applications, you make yourself discoverable. The way you do that is by turning your LinkedIn profile from an online resume into a recruiter magnet. Now, I genuinely believed that it was common knowledge, but developers I've talked to never considered that recruiters spend hours every single day searching for candidates. And because most people are absolutely clueless about creating a LinkedIn profile that makes recruiters jaw all over the keyboard, they never get approached. At that point, there's no point even having LinkedIn. They might as well delete their account. Now, LinkedIn is like a woman's Tinder profile. I don't know if you're as curious as me, but when I used to be on Tinder, and this is a bit embarrassing to admit, I wanted to understand my competition in the dating market. So I created a fake profile, uploaded a few pictures of a random girl, and swiped for a good 30 minutes. And saying that most guys' profiles were terrible would be a complete understatement of the year. But what shocked me most is that every profile looked the same, and the gap between the good profiles and the average profiles was so good, I wasn't even mad that the girls only swiped right on 5% of the profile. When every profile looks like the same thing, nothing grabs your attention. LinkedIn works exactly the same way. Recruiters spend all day scrolling through profile after profile. Software engineer, passionate developer, open to work. The same headlines with the same buzzwords and the same list of programming languages. After the first 20 profiles, they all blur into one. But then, every now and then, one profile makes them stop scrolling. Your LinkedIn isn't there to tell your life story. It's there to make a recruiter think, I need to speak to this person. That's exactly why inside the Crypto Accelerator, we put a huge emphasis on repositioning LinkedIn profiles. From the headline to the projects to the way they present the experience. So recruiters immediately understand where you fit in the market. Because when recruiters start coming to you, you're not competing against the 70 other applicants who are desperately refreshing job boards every single morning. Opportunities start falling into your lap. But getting the interview isn't the same as getting the job. Which brings us to the fourth change. Mastering the art of the interview. Imagine 2 developers interviewing for the exact same role. They both have a killer LinkedIn profile, they both built real projects, they're both the perfect fit on paper. But one walks away with a rejection email and the other walks away with a 6-figure offer. What's the difference between the two? It's how prepared they are for the interview. First one walks in nervous, thinking he's got to prove something. The second one understands what recruiters want to hear and how to frame himself. He already knows how the interview is structured, he knows the questions that likely to ask, he knows the projects to talk about, which experiences to emphasize, and how to answer like someone who's already part of the industry. In other words, he doesn't interview like an outsider trying to get in. He interviews like he's already had the job for 5 years. Companies like Binance aren't just asking, can this person write code? They're asking, can I trust this person to work on products securing billions of dollars? That's precisely why preparing our clients for the interview itself is arguably the most important part. 93% of people lose the job opportunity at the interview stage. You also need to know the different interview stages, what each stage is testing you for, what questions come up over and over again, what critical mistakes will lose you the opportunity. For example, Corriday was already standing out before he even walked into the room. His CV did its job, but he still had to convert that opportunity. By now, you've probably realized that landing a job at a company like Binance isn't about getting lucky. It's a lot like playing chess. It's about making the right moves in the right order. None of what you've heard so far is a secret, but there's a very specific strategy and a very intentional system behind every single step of the process. If you miss one step, the whole thing breaks down. If you do them in the wrong order, you can waste months, sometimes years, before you realize what was holding you back. And I'm telling you this from experience. You see, I didn't have a roadmap. I basically spent 18 months figuring out everything by trial and error. I lost so much time and money just because there was no paved pathway for me to follow. I had to crawl out of so many rabbit holes and financial losses because everyone on the internet says something different. Compare that with Korede. He followed the roadmap that was designed by people who had already been there and done that. What should have taken him multiple months to accomplish, he completed in just over 30 days. And while he was still at university. And he landed a job at Binance. And he beat 70 other applicants to do it. And he secured a higher salary than many senior software engineers. But here's the thing, watching this video and knowing a roadmap exists will not change your life. Taking the first step will. And normally getting access to that kind of guidance comes with a hefty price tag. That's why I've decided to make the first step completely free. I've put together a private community where I break down how to transition into the crypto field, how to build the kind of proof companies actually care about, how to position yourself for roles at companies like Binance, and how to avoid the mistakes that cost me 18 months of my life. So if you're serious about breaking into crypto and you want the roadmap instead of another random YouTube tutorial, click the link in the description, join the community, and I'll see you inside.